draft of this book. It's my first piece of fiction known as a bunch of collected short stories, and it's titled Imaginary Friends, and that's why the bio that Sharon read out was mentioning that my favorite imaginary friend was a pink water bottle called Janet. And what it actually happens really by fluke, these stories, so I'm actually really thankful to actually see this in physical form. It actually started out as blogging entries for this month-long activity called Blogging from A to Z, which happens every April, and I wrote these stories last year. And it just happened, I just sort of sent them on a whim to MPH, and it just happened the editor found them interesting, like something that they never really published before, and they thought they'd just give this a go, even though fiction is not considered, the most marketable of literature these days. But I think what's really important is that the stories, I wrote them with no target audience in mind, so it's being positioned as a kidult book, yeah, so childlike adults or adult-like children, depending on how you want to look at it. And I think because it's sort of straddling between the kid and adult market, it's being, it's being interpreted in very different ways. So I would love to hear from what you guys think after we do some readings of the stories this afternoon, and let me know what you think. But I think it's really important to have had illustrations in the stories. I think you get a better idea when you hear the stories that Arif and I will be reading out in a bit. And I think the illustrations really add to the personality of the story. So in this case, it's quite like a children's book, where the visualization of the characters will really add to you sort of maybe rooting for the characters a little more. And can Arif show your drew? Yeah. So you can see we're both wearing shirts that Arif drew, and there are two characters that we're sharing with you this afternoon. So my first character is Ellie, the egotistical eraser, and Arif is doing Walter, the wistful wombat. So as you know, the stories from A to Z, so it's very straightforward. There are 26 characters based on the alphabet A to Z. And maybe I'll start. Arif, you read first? Yeah. So Arif will read the first story, and maybe you can share some thoughts on the story, why you like that character so much. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I chose Walter the Wistful Wombat because of the lesson that I got while reading this story, which it's okay for you to to be wistful, but you have to be grateful as well. So you will get to choose a bit. More than anything else, Walter the Wistful Wombat wanted to fly, but no. Here he was all day just burrowing about in the ground. At least his cousins, the koalas, could climb and get some semblance of elevation. Walter had often begged them to carry him up the eucalyptus tree, but they just laughed and called him fatty. Whatever was Walter the Wistful Wombat to do? Whining got him nowhere. Neither did wishing on shooting stars for a pair of flying squirrel-like wings to match his skin tone. As the likelihood of him flying across the sky diminished, so too did his size, as he lost his appetite with nothing to look forward to in life. His little brother, Wilfred the Whiskered Wombat, felt sorry that Walter was so sad. He devised a brilliant plan when Walter's flying dreams come true. One day, while Walter was having an afternoon nap, Wilfred snuck a little handmade parachute package into his pouch. From there, 4 koalas brought him to the top of the tallest tree in the forest. Now that he has lost weight, they were okay with giving him that ride. Once Walter reached the top, the koala woke him up and told him to enjoy the view of the mountains. Then, they told him to jump and pull the string attached to his parachute pouch. He did just that and floated down, crying with happiness. Walter was on cloud 9 for the next few days and couldn't stop talking about the transformative experience. He gave his little brother Wilfred a snuggly hug and told him he was the best brother in the world. But after a week, Walter became bored and aimless again. He pestered Wilfred the Whiskered Wombat to make him wings so that he could fly around, and he pestered the koalas to ask the eagles to give him a lift up to the mountain top. They all got really annoyed by his diva demands and told Kitty the cookie kangaroo to pop him into her pouch and bring him to another forest so they could finally get some peace and quiet. Moral of the story, it's more important to appreciate that what you got, then to continually hanker for more. The end.
Yeah, so you can see it's very tongue-in-cheek stories, not very in-depth, not very educational in that sense. But basically, I wrote these stories like as Sharon mentioned, wee hours a night, usually half asleep. So this story pretty much came from a trip to Australia as a kid, and I remember my mom made me take a photo of a wombat, and wombat pooped on me after that. And that's why I was just thinking the wombat just sort of pooped on me very lazily, like kind of like didn't really care. So that kind of personality, I sort of translated that to this little story of Walter. So the next story we're going to read out to you is Ellie the Egotistical Eraser. And I'm not so sure how many of you remember from way back when you were really young and you used to go to school and you had that pencil box or that pencil case, and that was pretty much very, very core part of your identity as a student. And if probably you were below 10 years old, you would probably have named some of your pens, or you probably would have some of your favorite sparkly mechanical pencils or your rainbow erasers. And for me, the pencil box was a very, very big deal. I had a pink pencil box, just like my pink water bottle, and a lot of buttons, and there are all these like snazzy features where things pop out. And I always used to imagine, like, whenever I close the pencil box, what is happening with all the pens and pencils and erasers? And I always imagined that they will be chatting about how dumb I am, or I break the pencil, I'm so rough with the pencil, or why did I chew on the eraser? And I always imagine them discussing their very, not very reliable mistress. And yeah, so stationery is a big deal for me as a girl. And I think what I also thought was that, I'm not sure what happens in Malaysian schools, but in Singapore schools, this is a very big stationery transition when you go from pencil to pen at around primary 3, probably standard 3 for you guys, when you're 9 years old, because they deem that you're more so grown up, you can handle semi-permanent ink. So I sort of thought about that as well while writing this story. So this is the story of Ellie the Egotistical Eraser. No one dared to mess with Ellie the Egotistical Eraser at the pencil box. Rub her the wrong way and she would rub you out of existence. She was your typical rude rubber, abrasive in her actions with not a care about how the pencils felt, about having their markings obliterated for no rhyme or reason. Her bullying erasures got so bad that Peter the pious pencil once staged a stationery protest and wrote, "Respect our words, respect our art." Ellie branded him a despicable vandal and rubbed out his words so hard that Pam the pleasant paper tore. The incident was later referred to as the Paper Massacre. However, things were changing at the pencil box. All the pencils, except Peter, had been taken away. There were now pens and correction fluid, all brand new and giving disdainful looks to Peter and Ellie. "Ew, you both are like so 1980s and like so need a bath," snorted Percy the perverse pen, a sleek black gel pen from Japan. He had a strange fetish for poking Ellie, who now looked diseased with small black dots all over her. My cardigan. However, the real one now in charge was Loratio the loutish liquid paper, and he was a nightmare. He liked to flick his toxic fluid on anyone who came close to him, and was notorious for deliberately seeping on pen nibs so that they wouldn't work anymore. Ellie the Egotistical Eraser went sobbing to Peter the pious pencil. They were now friends because seriously, what choice did they have? "I'm so sorry I was such a tyrant before, but life with these perverted pens and dictator liquid paper is unbearable. Is there any way we can get out of this?" Peter showed her his escape plan that he had sketched out on a tiny piece of paper, a remnant of Dear Pam recipes. Apparently, there was the pencil case, a roomier retirement sort of place where the other pencils were now staying. "But you have to promise me that if I take you along with me, you will erase all your nasty bullying habits," Peter said firmly. Ellie promised. And on that very night, they made their way to the pencil case, where they now lead a harmonious, uneventful existence with the other pencils and some lovely, chirpy crayons. Meanwhile, the pens at the pencil box haven't noticed that Ellie and Peter are gone. They're too busy trying to survive under Loratio's terrifying regime. The moral of the story is, if office politics get too ridiculous, just get out of there. Thank you very much. I think I would want to pass the mic back to Arif right now to describe, I think, the really important part of illustrating the book, because I think that's really added to the, yeah, so you tell your side. Yes.
Okay, the way I approach illustrations for this story is that, I had imaginary friends too when I was a kid. It's actually my own cat, it's a black cat, but at night I always imagine him being a superhero somewhere in the city. I was in Ipoh at the time, so we will go to the city and, fight crime and whatnot. Black cat, yeah, so very crazy, right? And then I even make a comic about him and whatnot. So I always, when I draw that superhero, I thought it was brilliant. And when I grew up and I look back at my drawings, it was kind of creepy, but in an innocent approach. So that's how I approach the characters in the story. So it's a very basic, very innocent approach, but kind of creepy. But it was cute when we were kids. So I don't know whether you can comprehend it or not, but that's how I approach it. Basically, that's it.
Okay, I'll just read one more short story for you. Another female character. Her name is, this one, a lot of my overworked Singaporean friends seem to like the story a lot. O is for Olivia, the overachieving octopus. So, just some context, there are a lot of different types of characters. So you have stationary, fruits, food, animals, insects, jewelry. Yeah, so it's really a whole kaleidoscope of characters. And I'm sure, I do hope that if you do write the book, there will be a character that you identify with. So this one is Olivia, the overachieving octopus. Olivia, the overachieving octopus, had just laid 100,000 eggs at her lair and was writing a to-do list to prepare for the arrival of her offspring. After using her ink to write out a list of 64 things to do, her target was always to do 8 things with each of her 8 arms each day. She hitched a ride from Sammy the Speedy Sailfish to the Golden Palace, a workplace where she was a personal assistant to King Neptune. It was a job that she loved. The pace was challenging and she loved meeting so many different creatures from the sea. Most importantly, this job gave her a sense of satisfaction. She was a pioneer in her own right by doing this meaningful work, forging a path for other female sea creatures to follow. King Neptune seemed to be very quiet today, which was rare as he was just a typical old man who liked to tell stories. She presented him with a homemade seaweed pie she had baked the night before, but even that didn't seem to warm him up. Finally, after much pacing up and down, King Neptune told Olivia that he had to fire her. My daughter, she's getting so restless, always going up to land to flirt with those two-legged men. I have to give her something to do, and I thought it would be good if she had an internship at the palace administration and be my PA for the next year or so. King Neptune trailed off when he saw Olivia's face darken. Even though he was immortal, getting sprayed with octopus ink was never fun. Olivia took a few seconds to collect herself before diplomatically replying, "Of course, Your Majesty, I understand. Anyway, I really do need time to prepare for the babies. The princess is such a bright girl. I'm sure she'll be able to pick things up really fast." King Neptune got the servants to prepare a generous compensation package for Olivia, the overachieving octopus. A whole crate of plants she could feast on and 10 gold coins from his treasury. But as Olivia left the Golden Palace, she burst into tears. Whatever was she going to do with her life now? There weren't jobs for women anywhere else in the sea. She had absolutely no intention of becoming a stay-at-home mom either. She had seen how boring and frumpy her friends got when they become full-time baby slaves. Olivia was so distracted by her unemployment angst that she failed to see a fishing net in front of her. The fishermen were absolutely delighted to haul up, and Olivia was served as fresh taco sashimi that very same evening to a group of appreciated Japanese businessmen. Moral of the story, don't let work determine who you are, because once your career goes, that's the end of you too. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
That's hilarious. I love the names of the characters. It's just absolutely brilliant. For those of you who don't know, the A to Z blogging challenge is something that happens in, which month is it? April, every year, and it's something that bloggers around the world take part in. And you start on April the 1st and you go on for 26 days through the different letters of the alphabet, writing a blog post starting with A and a blog post starting with a word with begins with B and so on through the alphabet. And Damayanti in Singapore, Damayanti Ghosh, who used to come and read